Hello there, sword friends. I just thought I would give some updates. There have been some things that I bought, some projects that are going on, and I thought I might share some tidbits of them with you for those of you that might be interested. So first, I'll talk about this Tsuba right here, if my camera will focus. Come on, buddy. There we go. So this is from Inoshshi Tosogu, and sword friend Alfredo made this for me. I saw a picture of the Tsuba that he made online, and I said, ooh, I have some fittings that I have a set of Fujikashira that have like a similar kind of theme around the end here that could work pretty well together in a project. And so for one, it's pretty seldom that I go buy fittings and they don't have swirly mitsudomes all over, but this was just a little different. I seldom see swords with this kind of cloud pattern. There was this game on the TurboGrafx 16 that I played called like Ninja Spirit, and I don't know, for some reason the clouds reminded me of that game, but it's a crescent moon. I've got some Minuki that will go with it as well in the same kind of pattern. So I bought some. I have a Fujikashira that are already out and about. Sword friend Alfredo also sent me some of these, and I don't know how well they will fit, but there are some resin with kind of 24 karat gold flakes kind of put in the Kojiri, Kurigata, et cetera, et cetera. So I have some bedazzled parts that might go well with the project as well, if it fits. Now, the project blade that it's going to go on is a blade that I got some time ago from Bob Ignath. I didn't think enough about it and sent the blade off to get done before I thought about making a part one of the video. But I will have a crescent moon looking project sword at some point in the future. It's probably going to be quite a while, but eventually you will see an update where these fittings are going to be used, because it's on the next project that I get finished up is going to have use of those fittings there. So that is one. The other bit that I want to share with you is two swords that came to me from Siamese Edge. So it's going to be a hot minute before I actually get a chance to review these swords, but I wanted to throw out that I really like them. So this is a custom sword with some silver and stuff, and they asked me about making a custom blade, and I didn't know anything about Da. So I sent a photo of one that I thought was cool, and I said, make something as close to this as you can. And they did. In retrospect, I kind of wish I'd put a little bit more energy into it. This is an excellent sword. At the same time, I feel like I didn't really give them enough insight into making something different, cool, and left ambiguity about how to make me happy. It's an excellent sword. It's cool. I have no complaints about it. I only wish that I was more specific about the things in the photo that I sent about what I liked about them, because some of them are absent, like the length and whatnot. This is shorter. It's still an excellent sword. However, when left to their own devices and just making a good product, this is their basic Da, and it is so cool. I am just tickled by this. The scabbard tapers down. It has interesting copper fittings and whatnot on it. It has a quasi-locking mechanism by the way this kind of fits in. It locks in a little bit, and with a tug it pulls out. And it is just, it's one of those swords that makes you smile. I reviewed some time ago with Unshi Sword Reviews the Banshee from Hanwei, which was like a modern tactical Da. This is probably a modern take on a Da, but at the same time, it is so fun. You pick it up, it makes you smile. It's a well-crafted item, and it has little bits of detail and dimension on it that I just wasn't expecting. And so this basic one is actually the one that I think I like a little bit more. I like their design of this Da quite a bit. They gave me leave to push it quite hard, and I'm reluctant to do so. It's a really beautifully made piece. And so if I were to buy something like this, I didn't necessarily expect this level of quality coming out the other end. The review, as you can tell, is probably going to be on the more favorable side. I haven't used it yet, so who knows? Maybe it'll crack in half and turn into a helicopter of doom. But so far what I see is a well-made and very competently made piece, and it's just been so fun. I really like the practical one. The more ornate one feels really nice in the hand, and it's got some additional spit shine on it. It's definitely a more expensive piece, and if it gave me the idea that if you give them very clear design choices on what you want, size-wise, et cetera, you're probably going to get something very competent out the other end. As it is, this is a little nubbier, a little shorter, but it feels, it feels like a twig in my hand. Also, they've coated it with like choji or some oil that doesn't smell mechanical. So as I'm like moving it around in the air, it's giving me like Thai spice smells, which are kind of making me hungry. Anyway, this is also very, very fun. I like it. It doesn't blend with my eye quite the same way the other one does, but it is so nimble and maneuverable and fun. I think it's probably gonna be like, this is what I would kind of want as like a home defense weapon. It is agile, nimble, light, small, and yeah, it's quite well done. Also, the scabbard is robust and feels like you could bonk somebody pretty good with it. Anyway, those are two pieces that I'll be reviewing from Siamese Edge, but do know that my general impressions are quite positive. The next one is a boken. So some time ago, sword friend Sam sent me a boken, and this is supposed to be kind of a Katori style boken. Now, I sent some photos of the boken that I use and what I generally tend to like, because there's a shape for a boken for Katori that is, I guess, customary. And this isn't different. It doesn't necessarily vibe as well as some of the other Katori boken that I've had. However, it's very nice. It has a swirly mitsudome on it and this little piece right here that is supposed to be a transition between, well, there's like a notch on the back of some Katori boken. This is just grooved in, and I think Sam said he wasn't particularly happy about it. But if I put my thumb there, every now and again when I use boken, especially the Katori one, I find my hands creep up, and before I do it, it's like I'm moving a pole arm around. So it's easy to get that creep. And this handle here has given me an impression that like there's this tangible feeling of like, this is where your thumb should go, and don't make it go higher. So I haven't trained with it a lot yet, but in terms of feeling, it's quite comfortable. It's nimble and soft. And so as a practitioner, if I didn't want to move around a heavier boken, this is quite a bit lighter than some of the other boken that I have. And I've found that the little groove, the recess in here, is actually not so bad in terms of maybe keeping my hands where they're supposed to be. It's a bad habit that I have where they creep up, and then I'm using like a 25-inch handle. Another video that I'm working on as well is the Windlass swords. So when I got these Windlass swords, Windlass sent me a few. I asked for some examples from the Royal Armory. I neglected to ask for them to be sharpened, so I had to do the job myself and made a real mess of it. So I've marred up the surfaces of the sword pretty good, but I can't remember exactly what this one is called. It's a single-edged arming sword and has another partial edge on the back, but this part is not sharp. Anyway, it's a different looking sword. I love this thing. It is so fun to move around. It's light and nimble, and it cuts like a laser beam. I have had a lot of luck in cutting with it, and it seems overall quite durable. And I don't know that I would have chosen this sword. I was limited in the options that I could choose in terms of what was in stock when Windlass approached me to do some reviews. So I asked for this one because I was more interested in checking out something from the Royal Armories. I tend to prefer two-handed swords. Arming swords aren't necessarily my bag of tricks, but this one doesn't have a wheel pommel on it like they all do. So I didn't mind giving this one a shot. I'm glad I did. This is a really, really fun sword, and I'm looking forward to doing the review on it. And if you see that it looks ugly, that's my sharpening job. If you ask it to be sharp, then you'll probably get one that's prettier on the outside than what I have here. Next one that I can share with you is a blast from the past. Some of you might know what this is. This is a bear on here, and it's carved in to the scabbard. It has a little rounded tip at the end, no horn nearest I can tell, but a bear carved in, and then a kurigata that's flopped off, and a handle that's not great, and it's even chipped right on the manauchi right here, and I need to profile it to clean it up. So what is this? This is a Last Legend ShinKuma, and I found this one on eBay a while ago. I got it for reasonably cheap. I'm not complaining about it, but I've had a few ShinKuma blades. Last Legends just don't seem to pop up very often, and when they do, I'm always kind of tempted to get them just because they have different tooling, different fittings, the stuff that you don't see, different blade profiles that are not super common to find at the moment. This is I'm not exactly even sure what it is. It's not a Hirazukuri because it doesn't have just a wedge shape, but it's like a weird blend between a Hira and a Shobu and a something. Anyway, it's a unique shape that is designed to be a very effective cutter. It's called the ShinKuma, or the bear katana, and it's fun to have one back in the collection. But it's got a big ding in it. It's the folded version of the blade, and I'm going to have to figure out how to sharpen that out. When I do, it's going to mar. It's not going to be the same as it was, but I have the capability to mess with it. And since it's all beat up already, I'm not really losing much. I'm not in it too much money either. And it's fun to have some of these old Last Legend blades to play with. Now, this is one of two, and I'm only going to break out this one, but this is the pricier example of a sword sent to me from Swords of Northshire. And this one is an Unokobe Zakuri geometry blade that's made a little bit longer, and it has this like laser engraving or handmade horimono in it. So there is horimono in the blade. It's an Unokobe Zakuri geometry blade, and it's made a little bit longer. It also came with this all stingray scabbard, this big blingy scabbard. So there are some features on this blade that are, I think this blade is around like $1,200 or something like that. It's a more expensive sword, and there are some things on here that are on the basic side. It's got like cotton ito, which you don't normally see on more expensive swords. But it has horimono and an all stingray scabbard. It's also not folded or laminated. It's like a differentially hardened kind of blade. It's differentially hardened, but not folded or laminated to my understanding. So normally you would see in swords that price, you would have like folding and some other thises and that's on here. This one doesn't have those features, but it does have horimono, a stingray scabbard, and it's got a custom size. It's a longer one, so I'm eager to actually get to training with this one and another longer counterpart that they sent me in a less expensive price point. So since these are longer, I'm actually looking forward to getting to train with them. So often I get blades that are on the shorter side, and I don't get a chance to train very well. I do get a chance to train with them, but they encourage some bad habits, like not doing saibiki, not moving my hips very much, because I can escape it, and then I just don't because I'm lazy. But anyway, these are longer. Looking forward to training with them. Swords of Northshire sent me a couple examples. It's been a while since I've seen something from them, so I have these now, and you will see a review some point in the future. This one is actually probably going to be the next katana review that I do, and this is a blade from Hanbon Forge that was done with the Swordis custom builder. I designed this to kind of be a black on black with some blacky black, like the example that I made from Shadow Dancer, which I also got from the Swordis website. So this is a less expensive iteration, one made from Hanbon, but I did get it long. I got it black on black with some blacky black, and the intention here was doing different things at different price points, but I may have mixed intent up, because this is a folded laminated blade, and the Shadow Dancer example was like an S5 katana. It was more focused on the practitioner doing durable stuff. This is a little bit more focused on the practitioner who wanted a lot for a little. So I have, nice silk fittings, which with swirly mitsudomes that I chose, but I got to pick out some bohi. So I got a bohi and a sohi on this. It's got folded steel, laminated. I've got little pearl bits inlaid in the scabbard here. So there's a lot of features on here for not a huge amount of money. I want to say this was around $600 was the price point on this sword. So that is one that I will probably be reviewing in the very near future, since I've had it for a minute. Another one which is kind of fun is this right here. So this is a wooden sword with, well, it's not lighting up at the moment, but it can light up. The edge can light up. And when it does, it is fun to move around. So this is not really going to be super robust, but these are like $80, and it's a Demon Slayer sword, and there's an LED strip in the edge here. And at night, it would be just kind of neat to do for some photo opportunities and stuff. I remember a while ago, I was trying to do Iaido with a light strip and then do some stop photography. This is basically like a much better version of what I had tried to make by gluing like LED strips to my Iaido. So I'm kind of, I'm going to try and repeat the same exercise. I don't know that this sword is great. The lightsabers, incidentally, this is from Time Blade Guild. The lightsabers that Time Blade Guild makes is probably much better for that kind of activity, but trying it with the sword is going to be fun. This is an example of a Demon Slayer one, and the light up edge, apparently I've lost the charge. I've been playing with it too much, but the light up edge is kind of fun, and I'm particularly interested in doing some photography stuff with it to see what I can do to get it to show Iaido movement well, you'll see when I do the review on it, because I'm going to play with photography and do that. One that I will get to eventually is this Ghost of Tsushima Tamahagane style blade from Jakku. Swordprint recently, or I don't know about recently, I've had this for a minute now, said, hey, Matt, you wanted one with all the bits at the end. I have it, and I don't particularly want it anymore. Would you like to have it? And so I was graciously given this by a fellow and local sword friend, and I will review it in the not too distant future. I have some odd and mixed feelings about this too. The short spoiler is that this heavy bit at the end is really thick and weighs things down and feels not great. So to use this in a dojo, there's just too much going on here, and it weighs the scabbard down and makes it move and feel kind of weird in your hand. The white cotton ito on it is also really, really easily smudged and dirtied. So if you get it and you handle it, it's going to show signs of handling quite quickly. But I do like the effort to make it like the steel in the game. And the blade on it is also really, really nice and cuts really, really well. I played with this, I did some cutting with it, and it is a absolutely fantastic cutter. And so while there are some sacrifices to be made with the, some of the adornments on it to make it like the game, the blade is really quite well done and is fun to cut with. And it's kind of cool that you can get a sword from a video game and have it function as well as this one does. I recall two versions being made, one that has this kind of metal end, and then a different one that almost has it painted on. And I can see why initially I thought like, oh, you definitely want one. This metal end is so stylistic to the sword in the game. But I can kind of see why if you actually wanted to walk around with it or use it like a katana, why you might just want the painted on one. Another one that will be wrapping up in the not too distant future that I've been working on and had for some time is this Romance of Men Lobster katana, I believe is what it is. So a few other folks have reviewed this sword. I have been using it and training with it a fair bit. And you might be able to see I've got some dings in the edge. I haven't obviously pushed it to failure. Honestly, it wasn't my intent to push it to failure. But I can give some initial thoughts on it. This has just some charm. Like the scabbard, I like how it feels. I like actually how it draws and sheathes. The fitting set, not to my liking, and there are some alignment issues that I would take issue with. There are also some interesting features on here that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So these Manuki stand proud, and they stand proud perfectly for me to get my hand around them and for them to just give this extra sense of control. They stick out enough where my middle finger and my ring finger kind of wrap around them and lock onto them in a way that aids in kind of feeling control, holding and having just something for your fingers to dig into. And the ito is very tight. Romance of Men has come a long way in the swords that they offer. This is a reasonably well thought out and nice sword. I like the scabbard. It cut exceptionally well. The ito is very tight. As a practitioner piece, this has been fun. I would like the transitions here to line up and be a little better, but I can feel that this is like nice quality silk. The polish on it was good. The edge was very sharp. And I believe I chipped it cutting into some plastic chairs that I wanted to put in the garbage. It was a lot for the sword. It caused it to be damaged. So do be advised that if you're trying to downsize your patio furniture, this is not the appropriate tool to do it. Thus far, I've been very happy, though, with the sword. I think for $300, it doesn't give you as many features, but it's like a solid little piece, and it looks good, and it feels actually pretty solid in the hand. And I've kind of gone back and forth on if it's something I can recommend, because there are just some kind of hokey issues that continue to be issues with the Romance of Men. Some things that really feel beneath the sword, like this Fuchi just standing as proud as it does over the ito. At the same time, the ito is well made and tight and feels fantastic. The Manuki are well chosen and aid in grip, and the blade was really, really sharp, cut really well. The scabbard feels good. It has a nice little bit of taper in it, and it also has this kind of glossy look that doesn't it has a glossy look where you can kind of see all of these red speckles on it, but it has a satin finish on it, so it doesn't hold fingerprints. Like it's a weird balance between bling and practical. But anyway, I will be wrapping up a review on that at some point in the not hopefully too distant future. The next one here, surprise, this is going to turn into an unboxing, is a Shadow Dancer katana. Now, Shadow Dancer started selling swords on Amazon. They were looking for reviews, but I have to go buy them on Amazon, so I paid my own money to buy this sword. It's not a review sample. I spent my money on it just like you would, and I will review it in at some point, but I thought I might just pull it out of the box, and so far there's plenty of packing in here. Likely these have to survive Amazon's warehouse, but initial impressions are this was a $258 sword, incidentally, so not a super expensive piece, but it's also not a $100 sword. The Ito, well, this doesn't have the Hishigami Pro. The Ito moves more than I would like, but is still, for swords in this price point, not too bad. The transition looks great. The fittings look reasonably crisp. Sword condom. Icky. How do I do with this? A fair amount of oil. This gives me the impression that they probably have to stay in Amazon's warehouse. Because this was shipped locally, but this feels really nice. It's one of the more basic Shadow Dancer swords. I bet if you buy it directly from Shadow Dancer, it's probably cheaper. But on Amazon, $250, and it feels good. I got this one because it was purple, and I don't have any purple ones. So if I'm gonna do a review for Shadow Dancer on Amazon, I thought I would get something that was different than what I normally have. And for $250, I would not be depressed by this sword. It seems like it is nice. I will probably do a comparison with this, and I have a example from Dragon King, the Spring Sakura Katana, which is red and has, I guess, similarly kind of a more elegant fitting and theme to it, but it has similar shaped blade, similar differentially hardening, and I think those would be a good kind of head-to-head example to do. So I might do that in the not too distant future as well. I have a lot of not too distant things to do in the future, so I better get to it. I'm going to stop the video here. Do bear in mind that I've got a ton of samples. I did definitely not get to all of the examples behind me. I have way more swords to get to in the near future, but this was just some that I thought I might share with you, things that I'm working on in the moment. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you have any questions, throw them in the commentary down below. I will try to answer. That's all I got though. Cheers, and thanks for watching.